Flipping story over in Pakistan now, where misery continuing to mount for millions of Pakistanis affected by this year's monsoon rain and floods, submerging more than a third of the country. Let's bring into the conversation foreign correspondent Rebecca Bundhan following this for us. Hello to you, Rebecca. And I also see a grade 3 emergency has been announced by the World Health Organization. Hello, what does that mean?
Yes, that's right. So, I mean, it's been declared a national emergency for Pakistan, but the World Health Organization, the WHO, has also, in its internal grading system, said that it's a grade 3 emergency. Now, what that means is that its response is coming from its country offices, its regional offices there, and also from its headquarters in Geneva as well. Now, why it sees this as such a serious situation is because a third of the country has been submerged under floodwater due to torrential monsoon rains. There's still a lot of flooding there, a lot of water that's stagnant now. Now, that can lead to waterborne diseases, including cholera. Also, given the fact that so many people have been displaced in the country, hundreds of thousands of homes have been washed away or completely destroyed by the rains, the heavy rains and the floods, and by landslides caused by these rains as well. Now, that means that people have been crowding into these relief camps across the country as they try to get some shelter, and that can lead to the spread of diseases such as COVID-19. So all of these are big challenges. On top of that as well, why the WHO is really concerned is that hundreds of health centres, hospitals have been very, very badly damaged by the floods. And a lot of people just can't get access to basic healthcare at the moment. They can't get access to medicine. There's a lot of international aid that started coming in, including medicine. But for a lot of people, they just can't get access to the basics at the moment. Food is difficult, water, safe drinking water, and basic healthcare at the moment. So that's why the WHO is so concerned. It's also released an emergency fund of $10 million from its emergency fund to actually try and help support the efforts in the country. But really, there's a huge amount of work that needs to be done just in terms of basics, getting people shelter, getting people food, and then the healthcare challenges on top of that.
It's a staggeringly large issue the country having to deal with now as well. And I see 1,190 people have lost their lives. Some saying it's a miracle, it's not anymore. So as we talk about the billions of rands needed that the United Nations has made this call for, Rebecca, this 2.7 billion rand in aid that's needed. Also, just maybe update us on what's happening with search and rescue efforts, or are we now at a point, always sadly, is it now search and recovery efforts, as we also talk about the United Nations call for aid?
Yes, that's right. So the United Nations has appealed for $160 million in emergency funds for the country, and this would meet its basic needs, including food for those shelters, water, sanitation, emergency education. It will cover some of these healthcare needs as well. And that's said by the UN that it could reach more than 5 million people. So those are funds that are desperately needed. There's also funds that have come in from other countries as well. The United States, the UK have also announced that they'll provide funding to support humanitarian efforts. Tents, medicine, food has been flown in by countries including Turkey and China as well, the United Arab Emirates. So it's getting a lot of support, but Pakistan has said that it's estimating, and this is an early estimate, that the damage is going to be over $10 billion. So there's a lot more that needs to be done. And yes, the challenge at the moment is at the moment that the country is still dealing with these rescue and relief efforts, the immediate needs, before even looking at the longer term damage. And the problem for the country at the moment is the fact that so many roads, bridges have been destroyed or damaged by the floods. So there were a lot of areas which were already very remote anyway, but now it's just almost impossible for teams to easily reach those areas. They can't reach them by roads. Roads in some cases have been completely washed away, or they're flooded at the moment still. So the only way to reach some areas is by helicopter, and then you've got people scattered about these different areas that are just so remote. So it's really an ongoing challenge. And then getting the basic needs, the basic requirements for those people who have now moved to the relief camps. So there are relief camps across the country, and people are crowding into those relief camps, again, just in need of a lot of things. And it's also predicted that food prices are rising there, and that there will be food shortages to come because so many crops have been destroyed. Pakistan's really a country that depends very, very heavily on agriculture. A lot of crops have been wiped out. People's livelihoods, of course, have been really badly affected as well. So these are ongoing challenges, and Pakistan is saying that this is a process that will, even after the floods have cleared, it will take several years for Pakistan to really recover, for it to rebuild, for it to rehabilitate the country. The effects have really been so devastating due to these floods.
It really has, and I see as well that there's images online. It's a 100-kilometer wide inland lake that is actually being created as a result of these deadly floods. I'm seeing some satellite images. I'm sure our team will do it for later in the evening. It's just astonishing to see. But Rebecca, thank you very much indeed, covering what is a devastating disaster for Pakistan at the moment. eNCA correspondent Rebecca Bundhan here on eNCA.